I want to talk to you today about cruise ship history, how it began and how it started, the Prohibition and how it became that some people were called teetotalers. Let's talk about it. Hello everybody, I'm Philip and welcome back to Casco Travels and welcome back cruisers. Hey, I want to talk to you a little bit today about the way cruising started. So we all love cruising and what it has become, although the prices have went up from what they were several years ago. I mean, way back when. So I'm going to tell you, back in the 19th century, companies began offering cruises and pleasure cruises and stuff like that. So P&O Cruises states that their co-founder, Arthur Anderson, invented the idea of the cruise holiday or vacations when he placed a dummy ad in his newspaper, which was called the Shetland Times. He owned this newspaper. He thought that it would be a joke, I guess. So he placed this in his newspaper, advertising an imaginary cruise of the Scottish Isles. So imagine that, planning to go on a cruise or something, not even knowing anything about cruising at that time. But he's offering this imaginary cruise that you could book and stuff like that. But lo and behold, guess what happened? People were interested. People started booking. So they were filling up this cruise ship, this imaginary cruise ship that he was going to give you this tour of the Scottish Isles. So for American cruises, there was a direct response to the 18th Amendment to the Constitution and the Volstead Act. That was not successful while trying to convert all Americans into teetotalers. Remember I was telling you about teetotalers? Let me explain to you what a teetotaler is. Back during the Prohibition, they were trying to get Americans to just totally stop and get away from alcohol altogether, and they called it a teetotal ban on alcohol, so they were calling them the teetotalers. The teetotal ban. These ships were offering cruises, or not really cruises, but just little getaways from the land. They would take them 3 miles out, and once they were beyond the 3-mile limit, the Prohibition agents had no authority, and thirsty Americans could quench their thirst for hard alcohol or whatever it was they wanted to drink that night, mixed drinks and everything. So while many took advantage of this law, they would anchor cargo ships just outside of territorial waters with signs on their hulls listing prices. Then the cases of alcoholic beverages were loaded onto private yachts and speedboats so that they could take the beverages back to the shoreline and distribute it. That's kind of like bootlegging. They would make sure that they stayed far enough out to where the Prohibition agents could not touch them, and then the speedboats would outrun them, taking it back to shore, and then it would get dispersed out, and then hopefully they would leave before anybody caught up with them. So at nighttime, the Gulf of Mexico and along the Atlantic coast was lit up like a football field because of all the booze ships out there. Everybody was trying to get in on this back then. This is when the ship owners cashed in on the marketing by offering short, inexpensive excursions, rates that you couldn't believe, from Florida to Havana, where Americans looking for relaxing time could drink and gamble with enjoying the nightlife and floor shows and other adult activities, saying it nicely. Hey, it's the way that they had a chance to get out and enjoy a little bit of that nightlife while drinking alcohol and stuff like that, because the alcohol was prohibited on land. I'd like to take this opportunity to ask you, if you haven't already, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, keep that notification bell on, and always remember, it doesn't cost anything to subscribe. It just helps me keep you up to date with everything going on in cruise news, and like today, just a little bit of history out there. Thanks in advance. Now we're going to talk about the ships and the ship owners along the Atlantic coast and the Gulf of Mexico. They started offering these cruises and escape from the prohibition. These cruises offered parties and high-class entertainment. Once the ships were beyond the 3-mile limit, the cabinets were unlocked. Americans were able to enjoy the luxury cruising by a law that was meant to totally stop them from drinking. Now, this law was taken into effect to try to make Americans quit drinking, but instead they found a way around it, and now they're doing this to where they can go out there and enjoy the alcohol, and the prohibition doesn't apply once you're beyond that 3-mile limit. Now let's talk about the first cruise ship. Well, at first, air travel was the main transportation until the industry began looking at ship travel as an adventure rather than a means of transportation. So they used to just use it for transportation to get you from one place to another and stuff like that. But now they're looking at a different aspect of it, becoming more of what we know today. So the American Hamburg Company built a cruise ship for passengers in 1901, which was the first ship designed specifically with cruising in mind. That means cruising, entertainment, and food and stuff like that on a cruise ship. So when all that took place, people were more drawn into it because they knew that they could get more of the luxury items now. So it was drawing more and more people. So now we have the White Star Line, who built 3 huge luxury ocean liners for the transatlantic voyages. You had the Olympic in 1911, you had the Titanic in 1912, and you had the Britannic in 1914. But keep in mind that the Britannic was only used as a British government ship during the war, which was World War I. So it was only used to transport soldiers and stuff like that, get them from place to place. Therefore, it was a passenger ship again, taking them from one area to another. While the other 2 ships, the Titanic and the Olympic, so those 2 ships became a very important part of history in the cruising business. Now, we all know and understand the tragic story of the transatlantic voyage of the Titanic, but it was the Olympic that paved the way for cruise amenities like swimming pools, tennis courts, along with fine luxury dining on these ships. So that's where it all really began. That's where everybody started getting drawn into this. Now, the Titanic actually scared off a lot of people during that time, but you still had those curious people out there that, hey, they've built a better ship now, they've learned from that, and let's go do this. Let's go do, this cruise of a lifetime. They jumped on board, they started enjoying it, and it really became a large business and corporations for many. So that brings us to cruising as we know it today. with all the fine dining, Guy's Burgers, the Blue Iguana, all the pizza you can eat, ice cream, along with many other items at your beck and call. The buffet, all that kind of stuff. All the luxury entertainment, everything that you can enjoy, all the drinks, watching all the talented shows, all for one price that includes all that. Unless you want a little extra and you want that extra fine dining from the steakhouse or teppanyaki or anything like that you may want extra. But that is what it has become today. And that's why we love cruising so much. Cruising has so many benefits, which I, for one, enjoy the fact that I can travel and see different areas of the country, different areas of the world, and visit just different places instead of being stuck at one place for my entire trip. I love the fact that I can go from one port to the other, and I may want to go scuba diving here, and then I want to do something else over here at this other port. And you may want to take an excursion where you go fishing and then they cook right in front of you what you've caught. There's many things that you can do on a cruise ship. There's many things you can do on land. But if you're not traveling by an RV or something like that, you're traveling by a car and you decide, okay, we're just going to go to one destination, spend 6-7 days there. It kind of gets old after a minute because you start seeing the same thing every day, all the time. So to me, cruising is just better. I love the fact that I can sit out on my balcony, drink a cup of coffee, watch the ocean waves go by. What a relaxing atmosphere that is. Thank you for watching today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, remember to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. It doesn't cost anything, like I said before. And always remember, treat that person like you'd want to be treated if you were in their shoes at that time, because you never know when it's going to be you. Thank you. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.